Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Marriage Matters with PB&J. I'm Jeff Posey, and this beautiful lady next to me is my wife, Latalia Posey, and I'm going to let her tell you about the topic that we are talking about today.
I'm excited to tell it. Before we do, let's introduce the B's and the J's. We have the B's here.
I'm MeKael Black.
I'm Dorian Black.
And the J's.
And we're the J's. I'm Angela Johnson.
And I'm Rabrjohnson.
As Jeff said, we're super excited about today's topic because it's very personal to us, and we're excited to share it with everybody else. Today we're going to be talking about going from good to godly and not settling for the status quo in marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to dive on in. I'm going to tell y'all now, this intro may be a little lengthy. It may take a while.
Okay.
But we're going to just kind of set the groundwork and the framework for what we're talking about. Well, when we met back quite a while ago in 96, there was like an instant connection, like a chemistry. And we knew it. There was, of course, like a physical chemistry. But then just like, we just knew.
Yeah, we got along well. I mean, she had a great personality, great sense of humor. I mean, it just gelled.
We did. We gelled, but we knew too that there was something different about it, like something special. Neither of us had been like in a lot of relationships and stuff, but we were like, this is something else, to the point where it scared me. I was just like, you know what? Like, okay, we're going to talk on the phone and then we're going to stop. And I remember telling him early on, like, you know what? Like, I think we should stop talking on the phone. I said, because it's going too fast. And he said, in his Mac Daddy vibe lines, he said, I feel like I'm making the biggest mistake of my life by agreeing to stop talking to you, but I'm going to do it for you. So I was like, okay. So
I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. It was pretty smooth.
It was good.
Yeah.
You can use it in the line in the movie.
It was pretty good. But needless to say, I don't know, we probably went maybe 2 days and we started back talking on the phone. And we would talk all the time. And then I was like, okay, but we're not going to meet each other's parents.
Yeah, and we put those rules in place. I'm not going over your house for the holiday. You're not coming to my house
Because
for
you ain't even going to meet my mom and daddy. Because I thought my mama would hurt me if she knew I was dating a 21-year-old and I was 18. Like, I had just gotten to college. I was sheltered. Like, she didn't play that. I barely went to prom. So I was like, you will not meet my mama. And lo and behold, we sitting out on the hub one day, hanging out. He was sitting out there like a country thug. I don't know if your hat was backwards or pulled over your eyes.
Hat turned around backwards, turn around to the floor, pull it down over your eyes.
And I saw this white Dynasty. Y'all remember those Dynasty cars?
Oh, yeah.
I saw the white Dynasty pull up. I said, I know good and well this is not my mama. Y'all, she pulled up right there where we were sitting. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I tried to jump up and run to the car, like to, smooth it out. She said, who is that thug you sitting by? Oh, here we go.
I was an undercover thug. I wasn't really a thug.
He had his arms out, had his sleeves. He cut the sleeves out of his shirt, just sitting there. I was like, oh, this is the end of this. Like, she about to wrap it up. So he came to the car and introduced himself. And y'all know Jeff. Y'all know sweet, nice Jeff. Like, she was like, oh, like, okay, he seemed kind of nice. So when I went home that weekend, I was like, Mama, it's nothing, I don't want to hear it. And she said, if you're not ready for it, he'll let you know if you're not mature enough. I was like, oh, like, who is this woman? Like, what's this? But I was like, but I'm not ready for it. So I went back and broke it off again. So we went through this whole cycle of me saying, I'm not ready and whatever, but still, I just couldn't shake him. Then a few weeks in, he told me he loved me, y'all. Like, weeks in. The thug. I was like, I'm gone. I remember saying, you don't even know me. Like, how you love me? You don't know me.
He was pulling out all the hats.
Come on.
He said, I just do. So I was just like, so it really is over. But obviously we're sitting here today, so it wasn't over. So I say all that to say the connection was just strong. Every time we tried to break it and we tried to slow it down, it just couldn't be. And then later we realized it was because 6 months in, he would be leaving and going to San Francisco.
I said every time she was trying to break it.
Well,
Jeff was trying to keep that down.
Jeff was letting it go.
I feel like the Lord said,
hey, look, I'm telling you.
In retrospect, you're right. He wouldn't. But I think it mattered because when he went to San Francisco after only 6 months of knowing each other, I was thinking this show ain't gonna work. Like, you leaving to go play ball, and we only have known each other for 6 months. You ain't coming back. At least you ain't coming back for me. But he did, and walked on campus every single day like a student carrying that backpack.
Come on.
Hey, I found a good thing.
Yeah.
You obtained favor too.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, you got favor.
So fast forward 3.5 long years of long distance, 6 months of barely seeing each other, and then 6 months of seeing
And
each other
Lord,
every day.
behold the telephone.
Yes, and talking on the phone and running. Y'all know back then stuff wasn't free, so we were talking, chopping it up, and I was sending him the bill each and every time to go ahead and handle it.
Yeah.
But we did all that. We finally got married. It was blissful.
Yeah.
We were finally together. I moved out there with him to San Francisco, so it's two little Mississippi country kids in the big city just living it up. Like it was awesome, and it went on like that for I don't know, probably 7-8 years or so.
Yes.
And then again, just that chemistry, just everything. And then one day we started praying together more, and we started spending time together, and God started doing awesome things like in our prayer life that we were like, okay, like this is good, until it wasn't. Because one day the Lord was like, all right, y'all are good, but I'm going to take you from good to godly. And I'm thinking, it sounds great. You know, like good, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But we did not realize that would mean having to go back and tell each other things that happened during that 3.5 years of courting long distance, having to confess pretty much everything, like things that we thought in that moment would tear us apart.
Yeah.
Like, but he just said, if y'all trust me, you know, I got you.
Yeah.
And then that was the moment where he started showing us, like, you know what? If you trust me, you're not going to settle for anything. Like, y'all had good, and that was better than most people could have asked for.
Right.
Yeah.
But I died that you may have godly. I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we're all ears. So got through that, and we're just chilling and rolling. Like, right after that was Woven, our marriage ministry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he started with that and started picking it back up. Every now and then he would still pull back in, like, y'all gotta go back. You gotta go back now. Now you gotta go back to the the starting point. Go back, touch base again, and come back.
Yeah.
Well, y'all rode along for years up until maybe a month or so ago, and it happened again. Thing after thing after thing started happening, and God had us back to the area again of going from good to godly. So these past several weeks have been challenging, but it's been pruning, and we did allow the Lord to speak and to go in and do stuff. And like I was saying, he just reminded us about pruning and about molting and about putting new wine into old skins, and fresh oil. He's like, I'm giving y'all some fresh oil. Like, you got to get rid of all that old stuff. Like, again, you were fine. Everything was good, but I'm taking you to a different level. Like, God truly is doing a new thing. And he does that for us from time to time. So my first question is for y'all. Do you feel like there have been any points in your marriage where you had to go back to the foundation, or where God kind of shook things up a little bit to get you to a different level? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, one thing that question makes me think about a question I think we had asked previously. I don't know. We have so many conversations about marriage. I get them all mixed up. But I remember you sharing, Robert, about a couple that was talking to you about how they have continued to just stay in love with each other over all the many years they had been married. It was a couple that you saw out in a restaurant or something, a elderly couple, and they talked to you about just forgiving each other every single day. But I just kind of feel like every day the Lord reminds us that, this marriage is not about you guys, it's for my glory, and that he reminds us that every day is a brand new start. And he doesn't just remind us after we have disagreed about something or not seeing eye to eye about something. Just even in the midst of, I think you said something about just kind of coasting along in your marriage sometimes because, nothing's going wrong. Everything's great. And you just kind of put it in cruise control sometimes. But he constantly reminds us that I need you guys to make sure that you're on top of things and that you're not just satisfied with the status quo, because people are always kind of pulling on you for advice. People will remind you that, hey, when I think of a couple that I can look up to or get advice from, you always come to mind. And he and I are looking at each other like, you talking about us?
Right.
Because we're not a perfect couple. Right. We don't see eye to eye on things from time to time. We we're two very distinctly different people. But God still sees fit to use us. And so it's just a matter of yielding to Him, saying, look, this marriage is not for you guys. It's for my glory. It's for you guys to have benefits from, but it's also for your kids. It's for their kids. It's for, people you come in contact with in the community. So it's just a daily awareness that this marriage, even this podcast, your marriage ministry is so much bigger than just us. So all of that comes to mind, as we're handling each other in situations that come up, just allowing God to continue to show Himself strong.
I think the other part that comes to my mind is when He takes us back to these back to the fundamentals again. I've had to learn not to chase what we had, because it delays what He's trying to do right now. Because I'm busy comparing. I'm busy getting frustrated. So I had to just say, hey, look, okay, what is it that you are doing? Let me submit to that. Because I was fighting it, trying to get, how can we make it be back what it was? How can we go back to good again?
That's good. So I guess if I had to think of a time, I would say, like when we started adding children to the marriage, we had to.
You and I got the same example.
We had to definitely make an adjustment and listen.
4 years without children.
4 years without kids. We could be spontaneous. We could pretty much date each other every day if we wanted to, but
travel, all of that. Just let's do this.
That was a big adjustment. But even in that,
we weren't concerned about school districts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or school calendar.
Pick up lines.
Just do whatever.
What time you gonna leave to get in that line and wait on the child?
But it was another opportunity for God to allow us to see a different side of each other. We had never been parents before, so that kind of changed us into, we watched each other change into a person we had never seen before. So just another opportunity to grow. Could we have griped and just said, I don't like this Robert, I want the Robert back without kids? Yeah, I think I may have said it a couple of times. But just saying, okay, Lord, here, this is where we are. How are you going to grow us up in this stage of our marriage?
I remember the first time I felt the freedom that Angela gave me to change. And that was big. Like the expectation for me to be where I was wasn't there. And for her to actually say it, hey, that's just not where we are anymore. That took that sense of performance off of the marriage. I gotta make it work like this or else you're not gonna be okay. And I just remember her kind of letting that expectation go and communicating that to me. Isn't it funny how you could be delivered, but then you gotta from your deliverance in marriage, you gotta help deliver the other person. Because sometimes we don't experience it at the same time. So
most times we don't.
Exactly. Most times.
And that's the funniest thing about marriage. I can think about with me and you, how, like we saying, from good to godly. And sometimes you don't even know what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be changed. And it takes your spouse to pull that out of you because you are in a relationship, because you are doing things together, that you are with someone that thinks differently from you do. And so God put you together, and so you forever, what you said, improving, forever learning things that you wouldn't be aware of if it wouldn't be for your wife. Because if you wasn't in a relationship, you wouldn't be aware that those things need to be fixed or helped in you. And so as long as you married and stay committed, I think God is always going to be pushing you toward a different level, a
Yeah.
different more, and perfecting you to make you more like Him, to make your marriage look more
Yeah.
like what He wants your marriage to look
Yeah.
like, not what the status quo
Right.
or what ideally what people can look outside and see, but what really is
Yeah.
what your marriage should reflect Him. And so it reveals the things in you that God is trying to work out.
But you know, when I think of good, you think about, like for me, I think about when it comes to finances. Like I thought how I was doing finances was
You
good.
took the words right out of my mouth.
But when you bring God into it, then your habits change.
Right.
The way you think about money, the way you handle money, those things change. When you think about communicating, you could be doing fine.
Yeah.
But when you bring God into it, now you're praying together. Now
Right.
you're listening to your spouse and just not hearing to respond.
Right.
But you're actually listening. So you take all that into consideration.
Right.
And I could think about now several things, defining moments where we took things from good to godly, like finances, communicating, emotions,
Right.
just me responding out of emotion, like is that good or is that godly?
Right.
And then taking it from good to godly.
Right.
How would God want you to respond? Would He want you to respond out of these negative emotions, or? So I could think about several times now.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that about emotions, because in the beginning I would respond out of emotion. There's emotion, But like you said, from good to godly, because once the Lord works on you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. You think now before you act.
Right.
Because when you act before thinking, things can kind of go array.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's more thinking, like just, it's sometimes my wife may say something to me that I don't like, or if I assume something, I used to be like, hey, why you didn't do this? I'm just assuming.
Right.
And now I'm getting myself now we get in an argument because I assume something. So now I don't assume. But that comes with maturity. That comes with God working on you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then too, like God will take me back to some of the reasons why I married MeKael in the first place. Even just yesterday, I would just say, man, my wife, I got a good wife. Just thinking that. I was just thinking about all the attributes. And, just think about all her attributes and things that she brings to the table. And I thought for a second, I said, boy, if something ever happened to MeKael, boy, I said, boy, I'll be mixed up. But it's that appreciation.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just from good, to God.
Yeah. And there's no limit to it. I think in our minds, we go by what we see. We see even the most, the best example we can see in a marriage pales in comparison to his example. His thoughts are so much higher than ours. So we can look at a couple and think, like you said, you can look at couples, but that's still, he's like, I still want to take you higher. I want to take you higher. I want to take you higher. A lot, it boils down to whether or not we're willing to go there. And you mentioned money. I think about how you hardly are going to find somebody that's just like, I got enough money. I don't need any more. I don't want anything else. We're in pursuit.
Yeah.
We're pursuing money. We're pursuing, better. A lot of times we don't actively pursue better in our marriage. And God is just like, wake up. Like, I still have more. How much more important is this than money? Pursue something different. But if we don't know it's out there, then we don't know to pursue it. But it's out there. It is. And it's never going to stop. It's going to get better and better from glory to glory to glory, each and every time. So I think and we have challenged couples, and that is our challenge to everybody. Like, ask Him, how do we get there?
Yeah.
What do we need to do next? Ask, what do I need to do as an individual? What do I need to do next to help us go to that next level in our lives?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I've never heard that, but pursuing, because we pursue everything. We try to get better in everything.
Yeah.
we're ever learning, but pursuing to get better at marriage.
Yeah.
That's
We end up letting, when we don't pursue better in marriage, we end up just trying to talk the spouse into going on us on that trip to pursue. A lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, how well can, I feel like you love me and support me if you would go with me on my pursuits. Instead of making this a pursuit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right. That's so good. I don't know. I never want to stop pursuing, because when you think about it, marriage is the basis of everything. It's the example. It's two coming together to multiply. Like it's what God does.
Yeah,
like it's
that's
what
true.
He uses.
That's true.
So of course the enemy would try to make us all just settle, or try not to let us get there, or try, laziness, or like I said, because it's not easy. It's not comfortable. It is. It's a whole, you gotta die to self, like over and over. And y'all know dying does not feel good, at all.
No.
Like it's nothing natural about it.
Yeah.
It takes the supernatural to do it, which takes a lot of stuff. But that is our challenge, just to ask Him and just to see and be prepared, for what's to come after that. I know, like with the when we would do marriage ministries, we'd have some couples. It would be so funny. You get some that would just say like, "No, we're good. We've been married X number of years. We don't need retreats." And then you get others who've been married 50 and 60 years. Like, we're coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. They're in pursuit.
Continue to pursue, continue to improve.
Yes. And you're seeing the fruit of it. You see the fruit of it with them, but then in their children and in their families and just so many other things versus the ones who are stagnant. That's just like, we're here and that's that.
Right.
So we're excited to extend that challenge. We do want to hear, once this does air, we'd love to see in the comments just what other people do and just the commitment, and then what other people do to pursue it. To get to that level. It goes beyond just the natural things. Of course, go on dates and things like that, but it goes beyond that.
And I see what we're doing with the podcast, just having real conversations. Not just about us, but also us getting a chance to hear other couple stories. That's an opportunity to grow.
Yes.
And just changing your perspective as a married person. Robert and I had a conversation with a couple who was trying to start marriage ministry at their church. And they were just being faced with a lot of backlash. Mainly people saying, we're good. We've been married for a while. We're happy. I'm like, well, great. So are we. We've been married a while, and we're happy too. But could we be happier?
That's good. That's good.
Exactly.
Right. Could our marriage be stronger?
Right.
Could God possibly want to do something else
Exactly.
in this marriage, or has He done everything?
Right.
So just changing our perspective on it and seeing these opportunities as a time for growth.
And people, go ahead, MeKael.
I read where a man said, "The day I stop learning, might as well be the day I die." And the day you stop learning about your spouse, maybe the end of your marriage.
Right. When it starts to die.
It starts to die.
Right. The beginning of the end. And then you hear couples say, well, we don't know how we got here.
Right.
We just fell out of love.
Trace it back.
Right. You stop growing.
Right.
You stop, as you said a moment ago, Tal, you stop yielding, to whatever the Lord was trying to work out of you in the marriage. You just said, nope, I'm good. I don't want to grow. I want to hold on to that. I want to stay the same way I've always been, and you just don't have to deal with that.
I think our ability to come in agreement is so powerful that I believe He honors it, even if we agree to be good.
That is good.
But I believe the moment that one of us say, "I want more," then it keeps it.
Come on.
He keeps working.
Come on.
That's why I believe. That's why I really believe. This is my theological belief, but I believe that's why I believe that when there is a spouse in Peter, the book of Peter, that's not married to a believer, I still believe that's how that one can still have the influence, because you still got one that's in pursuit of God, still submitting to God, still not in agreement that this is our destiny. It's bigger than this. And I just believe God. It's enough room for God to keep working.
Right. Well, I love it, y'all. We know we're coming to an end. We have to wrap it up. Any last words, baby?
I would just like to say, just continue to pursue. That's the word that we continue to hear. Because you can't maintain. If you maintain, you go stale. So you gotta continue to pursue your marriage, pursue God. And hey, I'm excited, because we're gonna never stay the same.
Right.
We're gonna forever grow,
That's true.
continue to grow
That's
and
true.
change and get older, get a little wiser, and so you might as well bring that spouse along with you.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So y'all keep pursuing. Let us know in the comments once it airs, how you choose to pursue and the things that God has done. We look forward to hearing from you.
Yep. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Marriage Matters with PB&J. Like, share, and subscribe to our page on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll see you next time because your marriage matters.